Welcome to the Afrocentric Woman, where our mission is to inspire Black women to heal core wounds and embrace a luxurious and abundant lifestyle. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk, sis. Hi, everyone. I hope that you're doing good. I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts about the concept of dying alone. If any of you have listened to the male-osphere, to the Sassy Samuels, aka Kevin Samuels, live tele abuse sessions, and any of the malosphere, MGTOW type of people who, this is just a threat that's always in the air that, anytime a woman misbehaves or says something that they don't like, or any number of things that they would include or no longer make them desirable, because they do skew towards pedophilia. The younger, the better. I kid you not. I literally was watching one malosphere duo talk about, I think the guy was like 20, he was in his late 20s, early 30s, and he was talking about dating a 17-year-old girl who hadn't even, or rather, who had just graduated high school. And he was saying that that was his preference. So, anyway, so if you're not a child, you're not a girl, you're actually a grown adult. There's a variety of offenses that they would render you undesirable, and that you're going to die alone. And I wanted to explore this concept of dying alone because of a few reasons. I wanted to do this anyway, and a recent event sparked me to want to do it faster. So one of the guys that I was dating, I actually just decided I don't want to date him anymore, but I was dating him for a little while, and his father just passed away recently. So by the time we met, his father, had already passed away, and, just us going out for dinner and for lunch and stuff like that, we started talking, and, him talking about his background and me talking about my background. And he was talking about his father, how basically, he's not from the US. And so his family immigrated to the US for his mother to pursue education and job opportunity. And so the whole family moved over to the US. And then once this job opportunity was complete, they were going to move back to their home country. And the father didn't want to go. So he basically just was like, you guys go ahead and go, even though that was the plan all along for the three children, the wife, and the husband. But the husband chose to stay here in the US. And so, he was just basically talking about, like, once his father did that, he really estranged himself from the guy that I was dating, from his brothers, from the wife, even from his own family, and was doing God knows what here in the US, running wild, and he said, he didn't go into detail, but I could kind of put two and two together. He was saying that, once he got of age, his mother was actually able to explain a lot more things to him, as far as, the divorce and why the divorce. And it wasn't just even the moving. I guess it was like other women and, just wilding out and just not really being there, for the family as he should have been, just being super, super selfish, as, those types of people do. And so anyway, so they lived back there for a long time. And then eventually he came back to the US, but he just remained estranged from his biological father. And he just remained estranged from the whole family. And long story short, the dad dies suddenly, so he's in his early 60s. And just a side note, most single males die a lot earlier than married males. So he died in his early 60s, which is pretty young. Like, I mean, it's not super young, but it's not, you could have had maybe 20, 30 more years of good life, if you had lived a more holistic life and maybe stayed with your family, but nonetheless, he was single, no wife, no, his estranged from his children, no other children outside the marriage that they know of. And so his dad died in his early 60s, and he had to pay for, so this guy was dating, he paid for the funeral, he paid for all the arrangements, and recently went up there to close out the affairs of his biological father because he didn't have a will. He didn't write down or designate anything to anybody. So basically everything went to probate. He had to get a court date to get authority from the court to handle the affairs, close out accounts, properties and things of that nature. So essentially his dad died alone. So all the accusations of the manosphere, Kevin Samuels and his minions, that always accuse women that, oh, you're gonna die alone. Like, if you just don't want to, if you say, well, I have these standards and I'll just wait, you're gonna die alone. And it's like, no, actually, what I feel and what's perfectly illustrated with this situation is selfish narcissistic males are the ones who actually die alone. They are the ones who actually die alone. They're actually the ones who don't live as long. They're actually the ones who have all kinds of health ailments. I mean, it's amazing. Even some of the public figures who are males who come onto YouTube to bash everybody and to bash black women and to exploit and scam the community. A lot of them have health issues. A lot of them have chronic health issues. Heck, there's a narc in my life that has chronic health issues. It's just like, you cannot live your life being so selfish and evil and expect to have prosperity with your health and wellness. But that's a topic for another day. Juxtapose that to my aunts. So 2020 was a difficult year for my family because we had 4 deaths in our family in 2020. None of them were COVID related, but deaths nonetheless. And I want to talk about the second to the last death, which was my grandmother's oldest sister. So my grandmother's oldest sister never had any children. She was married when she was younger. So this is before I was born. She was married. I don't know what happened to the husband. I think he died, or I don't know whatever happened to him. But I think he died. Actually, I think he was older than her, and I think he died. So, and then she went a long time being unmarried, and then she actually got married again in her 70s, if you can believe it. She got married in her 70s. So she marries this guy in her 70s, and I think he had children, but I'm not so sure. But my aunt, I love my aunt, and my mom and her sisters, like one of the sisters in particular, one of my mom's sisters, like that aunt was her favorite aunt. So that was kind of like her surrogate child almost. She just loved her. They just had a special bond that, none of us really had. And then, the other, one of my grandmother's sisters, her grandkids really took a liking to my aunt. They just had a special bond. Like those were like kind of her surrogate children too. And she was just, I never remember her in all my life. I mean, she lived in another state, so I'd only visit from time to time, but I never heard her say a negative thing about anyone. I've never heard it. I'm not saying she hasn't done it. I've never heard her gossip. She's always in a good mood. She was always smiling. She was so giving. She was so generous. She absolutely loved children. She loved us. I mean, she really did. Like we could do just whatever we wanted when we went over there, which is why I love to go. She just went above and beyond to make sure that we were comfortable. When I was growing up, that particular community was a lot more rural than it is now. So like dirt roads and ditches and things like that. And, I just remember running down to her house from my other aunt's house in this little country town, and just being able to eat over there, and her getting us cleaned up, and just she was just a sweet, beautiful woman. And thank God she gave us 91 years on this earth. And as her health started to deteriorate, she was surrounded by family. She never went a day suffering alone. There was always, and even the community, even her church family and the people of the town, they all loved her. They all loved her because of her generosity, because of her beauty, because of her grace, because of her beautiful heart, her kindness, her positivity. She was such a positive influence on every life that she touched. So even though she didn't have any children, she had touched the lives of so many of us when we were children that, of course, we love her and we want to be with her in the good times and in the bad. And as her health started to deteriorate, we were all surrounding her. So she did not die alone. Now, her going such a long time being single for years and years, she didn't get married until she was in her 70s. So somebody from the malosphere would have said, oh, you're going to die alone because you're washed up. You're useless. You're just an old hag, or whatever it is that they say about women who are not children, who are not girls, grown adult women. And it's total to the contrary. So what I want you to understand, women, ladies, sisters, is that what's most important is being a earth, being a light on this planet, finding your purpose and connecting with it, and making an impact in this world, lifting people up, being positive, loving yourself, healing your wounds, and breaking negative cycles, and investing into the future, creating healthy patterns, creating a healthy way of relating for you, for your family, for your bloodline, for your sphere of influence, whether it be at work, in the community, in politics, wherever. Let your light shine. Connect with people and invest in healthy relationships, because your ability to have healthy people around you, loving you and supporting you throughout all of your life is not dependent on you finding a partner or not. It's not. It's not. It's a manipulation tactic that these males use to whip you into shape. And it's a made up fear, and it's fear mongering that really makes no sense, because to the contrary, narcissistic males are far more likely to die alone than you. So don't let them use that tactic on you. It's just simply not true. And then let me relate it to another situation quickly. Actually, two. So 3 of the 4 deaths that my family experienced last year in 2020, so 2 of them were my aunts, were my grandmother's sisters, and one of them was my grandmother's brother. So with my grandmother's brother, him being a selfish, narcissistic male, he was unmarried. He actually was in a home when he died. So the other 2 women lived in their homes surrounded by family, but the children that he had, he didn't really take care of them. So nobody opted to have him in their home. He was in a nursing home. And as he died, really no one was around. I think one of his stepdaughters from a previous relationship had kind of come around to kind of help out. And, my grandmother was around a little bit, to kind of orchestrate things. Now, he died at the height of COVID. I want to say in like May. So at that time, I think, funerals were prohibited, and of course the funeral homes and
and everything is just really taxed. The coroner and everything, it's really taxed because of, all the COVID deaths. So that definitely added a layer of complexity to everything going on. But nonetheless, no one went to his service. He was cremated. It was no fanfare. He was surrounded only by the people in the nursing home. Family members really weren't calling in to check. Basically, when he was young and he had energy, he ran the streets and was just narcissistic and selfish and running through women and, very to himself. I never remember him contributing anything to the family as far as family, gatherings and, bringing food or providing provisions for anyone. I never remember him doing any of that. Never. And even, my mother told me a story because my grandfather was killed, when my mom was, I think, like 4 or 5 or something like that. So my grandmother lived a long time as a widow. And I remember my mom telling me a story of, people pressuring him, my uncle, her brother in the family, to step up because my grandmother was like very holier than thou. So she never dated or anything like that. There were never any other men around. And she had these 5 children and she was a widow. And I remember my mom telling me that the family was pressuring him to step up to kind of be there, around, helping out around the house as far as repairs and help, doing things of that nature. And he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He was too busy running the streets, to help his sister. So he died alone. He died alone. His sisters didn't, but he did. And I believe he died alone because of the choices that he made when it mattered, the relationships that he should have been investing in and building when it mattered. He didn't take that time to do. He spent his money on liquor and weed and fast women and hookers and everything else, and literally ran himself into the ground because his health really, 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 really deteriorated towards the end. And so he died alone and in pain. And I mean, I feel neutral about it. We weren't close. Keep in mind, any of our grandchildren or the grandchildren, he wasn't close with any of us. So, I feel neutral about it. And then now let's take it to my biological father. My biological father, as we speak today, is estranged from all 4 of his children, including me, because of choices that he has made. He's a narcissist. He's a raging narcissist. We'll have to have a whole nother video about him and his pathology and malignancy. But he's a raging narcissist, and I don't want to be bothered with him. My siblings don't want to be bothered with him. He does have a toxic spouse, so, I'm sure she'll be around. But he will not die surrounded by loving children and loving grandchildren. I think I'm the only one, at this point in time, I'm the only one with a grandchild. Now maybe my other brother, who is from a different relationship that he had with another woman, he may have kids one day. But right now I'm the only one with grandchildren, and he don't even know them. He doesn't even know them, and he won't. He will not die surrounded by children and grandchildren. He will not, maybe his toxic spouse will still be around. I don't know. Who's to say? But the likelihood of him dying virtually alone is high. He doesn't have strong relationships with anyone. And most narcissists don't. So all I'm saying is that line is a con. It's a con. They don't want you. And so them saying that you're going to die alone isn't helping you. It's not like you're going to say something or do something that's going to make them want you. They don't. You're only a resource. What can you do? Can you cook? Can you clean? Can you provide free pee? Can you lower your requirements to nothing and just be a sexual resource? That's the only value that you would have in for these narcissistic males in the malosphere. But the joke's on them. They're the ones who are more likely to die alone. And it makes me think about some of these Hollywood actors too, who in their heyday, they're assholes and they're running through people and they're drugging and drinking and partying and, they're just rude, mean. Everyone has these horror stories about how horrible they were to them, how they treated them like minions and peons and, rude and throwing things at them and just acting like they're royalty. And as the money dwindles down from the Hollywood, whatever their talent was, whether it be acting or singing or producing or what have you, once the money starts to run out and these so-called hanger-oners start disappearing, the crowd starts to thin out. And a lot of these big Hollywood hotshots end up dying alone. Because when they had the money, they didn't have a generous heart. They weren't kind to people. They didn't nurture their relationships. They didn't keep family close. No. They just were totally selfish, self-absorbed, high on fame and narcissistic supply. And when it ran out, they were left alone, and they themselves die alone. So tell me what you think about this. Have I sparked any thoughts that you may have in terms of who really will die alone? And what are you doing to invest in healthy relationships all around you with whoever, children, family, friends, long-lasting, sustaining relationships, which are very challenging in this new age, this digital age. But, we have to get really creative about how we'll do it these days. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And I want to encourage you, don't argue with Dusties. If you hear some Dusties say that, oh, this woman's going to die alone because she wants, a man to take, to invest in her and to, make a certain amount of money or whatever the case, whatever her standards are. Oh, no, you don't 30, you have kids. Oh, no, that's not for you. You're going to die alone. Or, oh, no, you have 2 kids and you're 27 and you've already been married, divorced. You've done it all. Now you're going to die alone. I would encourage you to just know that that it's a con. It's a manipulation tactic. It's a scheme. It's a scam. It's not true. It's not necessarily true because you get to dictate and decide how you maneuver your life. And the woman in question would too get to decide. It is not solely contingent upon finding a partner. And the ironic thing about it is they only value youth. Like you can't be older than 25 is. And the interesting thing, it's like, even if you're 40 something and you marry a 22 or 24-year-old young woman, she's going to get older. Eventually she's going to be 34. And if she's lucky enough, eventually she's going to be 44. So you're telling me you're just going to trade her for another 20-year-old? Make it make sense. So yeah, these people, they value youth, and they just want you to freeze in time and just stay 24, 25 forever. Like you're never going to grow up. You're never going to be much. You're never going to mature. You're never going to get wise. They hate wise women. They only like naive girls because they don't know how to interface with wise women unless you're being a mammy type of mother figure to them. But just like as an equal, as a partner, no, they're not interested in that. But yeah, that's the really interesting thing, is that they want you young and they say that's the best age to marry, not realizing, like, you do realize that this woman is going to continue to age. Anyway, that's a side note. So like I said, I want to hear your thoughts on this scare tactic of you're going to die alone, constantly being regurgitated and put on the repeat in the malosphere of underdeveloped little son of a guns, and them trying to use it as a scare tactic or something to quiet you, or other women. And we're all going to make a commitment not to argue with Dusties in 2021 and beyond. But we'll know to ourselves, and you can always pull that lady to the side if you have an opportunity, and see if she's interested in another perspective. And if she is, then you can give her some sisterly advice. But if she's drank that Kool-Aid, leave her be, because she will be destructive to herself and to everyone around her. Thank you so much for listening to my thoughts on this. I look forward to dropping down in the comments and seeing what you think about this particular topic of now who will really die alone.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and attention with the Afrocentric Woman. Special gratitude to our subscribers. If you'd like to stay connected with this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you like this content, please hit the like button. If you have any comments or thoughts about the content shared, please drop down into the comment section and let us know. Remember, you are worthy, you are enough, you are unique, and you are lovable. And I appreciate you.